reason had its day, brother.
Hello, and I must apologize, everybody, because this is Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic reread series for fans of all shapes and sizes. And tonight we have some more Sonic comics by one Mr. Ken Penders. And well, we've critiqued the way that this man has written women and monarchies and history and the balance of technology and governments. So naturally, the next thing to do is for him to write a story about fascism.
Yeah, I guess so.
We have a Knuckles the Echidna arc here, starting with number 22, called Dark Alliance, and we've got fascism and civil rights in the same series, and
Yeah, that's true.
SBO's eyebrow is looking really weird every time it's being drawn. It's been looking weirder for a while now, but I don't like the shape of his head.
I don't think these comic artists know how to draw some of these characters.
Yeah,
I forgot SBO existed. I don't even think he does anything in this comic.
No, there is going to be a lot of Knuckles characters appearing on the covers without really being involved in the stories. That was already kind of a thing, but it gets worse from here on out.
And to be fair, also, the Chaotix barely ever do anything.
Indeed.
Well, but even more than usual, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I don't remember. Yeah. Let me try that again. I don't remember the Chaotix really doing anything.
Well, before we actually get into the story itself here, I want to talk about the title page for this first issue, where this is an infamous Penders moment, where on the title page here,
oh god, right,
Ken Penders takes the First They Came for the Socialists poem about Nazi Germany and rewrites it to be about Robotnik.
How did he think that was a good idea?
Well, it's like, it's bad enough that he did that, but it doesn't even fit Robotnik. That's not what Robotnik did.
Well, true, it isn't. But, I want to know, why did he think that was a good idea?
It's because political themes and overtones, he thinks they make his stories adult and deep.
This is more than just political themes and undertones.
The problem is, it doesn't fit, as you said, Devin.
Right.
It just feels thrown on, like you said, to try to make it more deep. It's jarring, is what it is.
It's tone deaf. Allegedly, there were multiple people during the production process who told him not to do this, and he did it anyway. And people critique him for this, obviously. He still defends this!
Oh god, he does? Jesus Christ.
Well, of course he does. That's the kind of person he is.
I guess, yeah, but oh my god.
I have no words. Well, I guess I had several words, but...
Oh, it's hard to have the will sometimes to really go into why some of the stupid things in these comics are stupid.
Yeah.
This is just a great example of that.
Woke liberal feminist hero Ken Penders cannot conceive of this being in poor taste. But let's go ahead and not dwell on it. Just gotta fight through the pain, I guess. The story here is You Say You Want a Revolution, written by Penders and drawn by Jim Valentino from Image Comics. I don't know what happened to Manny Gallen. He doesn't draw very many comics for the rest of the Knuckles comics. But Jim Valentino, his art for these stories is a little weird. He's definitely gotten better since the Image Comics special, but he makes Knuckles look really buff in some of these images.
Well, yeah, some of it looks fine. Like, the few pages before we get to Knuckles in Haven, they look decent enough, at least. But then we get to Knuckles sitting at the table in Haven, and, yeah, he looks like a dude.
It's weird, because the other echidnas on the same spread don't look really that strange.
Yeah, they look like echidnas.
Yeah, I think that Jim Valentino probably had, like, he really enjoyed drawing Spectre, because Spectre in all of these issues looks extremely badass for no reason.
Yeah, he looks
awesome.
Yeah,
I was like, what happened to Spectre?
I mean, it's almost
I
like...
assumed that they're going to start building on his character, but yeah, like you said, maybe they just...
I think it's
That's
because of
fancy.
his similarities to Spawn.
It's possible, yeah.
So, if I may talk about the plot a little bit here.
Did I not read
Um,
the summary?
You did not.
no, you didn't. You probably
I'm
should.
sorry. Sorry, yeah, the summary was, as dingo civil rights protests ramp up in Echidnapolis, the Dark Legion captures High Counselor Pravda of Echidnapolis and brainwashes him to support them in the upcoming election.
Wait
There
a
we go.
second. His name is Pravda?
Yeah.
That, okay.
I missed the significance.
I don't know if it's actually significant, but that was the primary newspaper in the Soviet Union.
Oh, okay. That can't be a coincidence.
I'm guessing it's not, but I'm not sure what the significance could be.
Well, it's a little bit, it doesn't connect with anything, because he's just a guy.
I know,
Maybe it's a
but
statement about propaganda? I don't know.
maybe?
Oh, the
I don't know.
the character is introduced as being a hypocrite. So maybe they put up a front, like they fake what they appear, because they talk against technology and yet they use technology. They're finally focusing on that part in the comics now, which is nice because that's always been a weird point. So I guess that was on purpose, or they're just trying to make up for the fact that it didn't make sense before. Either way, I guess that's good.
I suppose it was poor communication at best if it was really intended to be like this from the start. I do want to mention that this Dark Legion girl who's, having her thugs beat the crap out of his house and kidnap him, this is Lian Da. She's Dimitri's granddaughter and like an extremely important character in the lore, but she's just kind of introduced nonchalantly here. I don't think she was actually like a real character here. She's not even named in these stories.
Okay, I was wondering about that, because she looks like she's going to be important.
Yeah, she looks important. I thought the same.
Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, the Echidna Council guy is taken by the Legion. We get Knuckles and all of the Haven dudes just kind of expositing at each other. I don't think we really get any new information here. It's just elections are coming up, blah blah blah. Gotta do stuff. I think Locke says it's like, oh, I probably should reveal myself to Knuckles at some point, and then he just doesn't.
They're really stalling for that moment. Although speaking of Knuckles, there's a bit of catharsis here because he doesn't get to do it for very long because the plot interrupts him. But for a few frames, he starts just yelling at everyone, being like, "Why did you do this to me? Why'd you hide all of this, you jerks?"
Yeah, it's one of those drip feed, your moments of sympathy moments. But the really important thing here is that, they've kidnapped the counselor and they take him into their base, and holy shit, it's Dimitri. He's all borged up.
He's kind of terrifying.
I cannot help but like how ridiculously over the top this design is. It rolls over to the point that I kind of like it.
He is definitely very over-designed.
I like this illustration. No, I think it's, I don't know if cool is the right word, but it's certainly a lot.
It's interesting to watch.
I like the corkscrew on his left foot.
I also appreciate this
yeah.
because I was worried that Dimitri would just be alive because, like the Emerald paused his aging or something. But so I'm glad that they actually like, no, he would have like died. And they actually explain that because
that is kind of what I was expecting also. So when this showed up, I was like, damn.
So we have these dingo civil rights protests going on, and it's really kind of weird. It's hard to, I don't know how I'm supposed to interpret these, because on the one hand, they are, to the letter, textually speaking, an oppressed racial minority, and they're being attacked by the cops here. But at the same time, they all still dress like Nazis and have, excessively German names, or at least sometimes the names of rodents and rats.
It's weird and kind of uncomfortable. Not in portraying the civil rights movement is uncomfortable, but the way they're portraying a civil rights movement and the people they're portraying it with.
Yeah, and it's like they're protesting because the Echidna government basically failed to deliver on housing construction, meaning that they're either homeless or just living in slums. But later in this story, we see Stryker say something like, you better give us what we want or else, we're gonna be evil. We're gonna side with the bad guys, which is like, you fucking, ugh.
So, if I may do something that is perhaps unspeakable, I'm actually going to defend this a little bit. I think this actually adds to the situation. It makes it a little more complicated. I agree that every time Stryker does something, jerk, I don't like it. But that adds sort of complexity. I think by making the characters so obviously they're just there's Nazis and inspired, it forces the viewer to be like, oh, okay, I guess these are really bad, and they do a lot of like just cartoonishly evil things a lot of the time, and so I mean, obviously you're gonna be like, oh no, don't the Echidnas are being stupid, just get along, everyone. But when a lot of the dingoes actually are, legitimately, making drugs or whatever the heck they've been up to lately, then it legitimizes a little bit and it makes it a little more, it makes it not so black and white. I think, I mean, it's a little strange using an actual real life group. I'll give you that. But I think that's effective in a way.
I think if you want to show that it's a nuanced conflict, I get what you're saying, is that, some members of minority groups have in fact done bad things in the world. That's that's just inevitable. But
Sure.
I think that if you want to go the route of, challenging readers, I think that playing down the overtly villainous imagery of the protesters and more focusing on the, not propagandist exactly, but the hollow goodness of the supposed Echidnapolis good guys would be the better way to go. It's like how in Death Note, Light is transparently, like, fucking horrible in that show, but they always cast him in angelic positions, bathed in light and, having giant, like, wings in some of the openings and stuff, and Ella's just, like, kind of a weird guy, but it's, like, they don't make him hateable so much. And I don't know, I get what you're saying. I think that, at best, though, this is a case of Penders decided what he wanted the dingoes to look like long before he ever wanted there to be sympathy for them, and he just didn't bother to fix it.
I guess so.
I mean, we've got Harry. Some of the dingoes are a little different. It's true. Most of them are just that.
Well, it's just,
that
there's not even
group,
women or children in the dingoes is also the thing.
That's
true. I
That's a good
hadn't even
point.
thought of that.
yeah. Every dingo we've ever seen has been.
I wonder if they're not shown or if that's just the way their race is.
Hmm.
I
do
well
they
now
just
I'm trying to
reproduce
remember if I've even
asexually?
seen. I'm trying to remember now if I've even seen any women or children in Flynn's run of the dingoes. They're not in it that much. I don't know.
Huh.
Anyway, that's a lot of words, and so is this comic, frankly, for a story that is just not all that complex.
I like that the cops are considering arresting the protesters. They don't have a permit. Kidnopolis is so dystopian. You have to have a permit to protest.
Oh, it's
Dude,
like,
that just happens in the UK.
yeah, or Germany. It's like the bureaucratic hell of Europe.
Yeah, but yeah, no, all the protest and dingo stuff over with. I don't know what the brainwashing of the counselor involves, because they seem to be doing some kind of surgery on him.
Oh yeah. Oh boy, we
Yeah.
get to this part. This part kind of caught me off guard. I was like, holy heck. They're getting a little dark with this one. Yeah, I mean, they don't show exactly what's going on. It's just sci-fi weirdness, but I mean, I assume they burn out his brain and then control it with, electronics.
Hmm.
And for all we know, that could be it, because after this arc, we never see this guy again, like, brainwashed or otherwise. I don't know if he's dead or what.
At the
It
end,
literally
he's stated to be reduced to a vegetable.
Oh,
Oh, okay, I
Jesus.
must have missed that. Gross.
Jesus Christ.
Like I
Um,
said, what the heck?
I don't think I have really anything else to say about it. The Dark Legion, their whole plan is brainwash the guy, have him support the technology now candidate.
Mhm.
Which this is another problem of mine, is that the Dark Legion's position is still just that people should have technology, allegedly at least. I don't know why that has to be conflated with Nazis.
Dark Legion don't really make sense. of the Echidna factions, they're probably the well, I mean, they're not just the Echidna factions, but the main factions in this plot line. They seem to make the least sense, in my opinion. It really seems to me like, yeah, no, they're just like, people should have technology, but then they're always led by someone who's just insane. Kragok maybe isn't that crazy, but he's a little crazy. But Dimitri here is just completely nuts. It's funny because he's like, oh, when I was Enerjack, my mind was clouded with the power, but now I'll be more calculated. But he isn't any more calculated.
Not really.
No, not particularly.
I'll say that the last page here with Hail Dimitri, he's doing a phony Roman salute, which they such subtle commentary.
Yeah.
But that leads into Knuckles number 23 here, where I think that's Benedict, the candidate, jumping down onto Knuckles from up above. It's very funny looking.
Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know what scene this is supposed to portray, because you've got Dingo's Remington Julie Sue getting kidnapped, maybe? Knuckles' mom in the back there? More cops? The building appears to be collapsing?
It's weird because
Yeah.
Julie Sue and Knuckles' mom look super happy, even though it's chaotic.
Spazion, he was a little rushed on this one, let's say. But the story here is Election Night, Penders and Valentino. Now the Legion's puppet, Pravda endorses Legionnaire Benedict for counselor, and Remington is unable to find a way to arrest him. Meanwhile, the Legion soldier Zenin kidnaps Knuckles, Julie Sue, and Von Stryker. So, the bad parallels do not stop here, because the title page for this one gets, like, paraphrased like some anti-Semitic propaganda, like the stab in the back myth, allegedly written by Menaker, Dimitri's son.
I should probably look at these title pages a little more closely, because I just kind of glance over them most of the time.
Or, here's an idea, don't.
Fair.
Fun fact, I don't know if I have the tweet on screen that I can find it, but people informed Penders of where this originated, and his response amounted to, "Oh, I thought I was quoting Mein Kampf." I couldn't find the source on the Mein Kampf thing. It's probably from his long-dead personal forum. However, I did find some stuff that's arguably worse. There was this tweet where he compares his dumb Sonic legal crusade to Woman in Gold, a movie depicting the true story of a Jewish refugee trying to reclaim her family heirlooms seized by the Nazis. And there was this incredibly weird thread where someone criticizes him over the Holocaust poem in number 22, and he responds with, "Excuse you, my grandparents might have been Nazi collaborators, therefore you have no right to call me a bigot." What?
Okay. He just
Anyway.
casually... Okay. Sure. why
Anyway!
not? All right.
I'm sorry. It's too fucking... It is beyond parody. Speaking of which, I like how this first page is just 5 identical panels just zooming in.
Gotta make your deadlines.
Yeah, gotta stay in budget.
You know, we get this news broadcast about the upcoming election and how Pravda is recommending Benedict for counselor. Gee, Benedict, such a subtle name. And we see that the Dingoes and Remington and some cafe where Knuckles and his friends are, all of them watching this. You can tell it's a fantasy comic because the police chief has plans to organize against fascist infiltration.
Ooh. Spicy.
I'm sorry. I do like the amazing portrayal of Vector's politics, which is stupid politicians always jiving us, and that's it. That's his whole take. Anyway, so we have this, I guess this is a rally that they're at with, like, there's dingo rights protesters, there's, guys, to introduce Benedict and all that. Knuckles and his friends just kind of go there. They don't like respond to the things they were saying in the bar. They just go to the place. I guess Knuckles told them to.
Yeah, follow the plot.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess the plot follows Knuckles, so that makes sense. I do find it funny that through all this, they introduce Benedict, and like it seems like nobody has heard of this guy before. And I feel like in any actual election, if the president endorsed a candidate that nobody had ever met, it wouldn't matter if he was brainwashed. They wouldn't win.
Yeah. No, he really wouldn't. Part of a political run is the connections you already have.
Well, so first of all, we don't actually see if this guy is anywhere close to successful.
Yeah, because they rigged the election
So-
anyway. You're right.
So,
That's true. Yeah.
that doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah. So it doesn't really that part doesn't really matter anyway. But...
The problem is, why is he trying to gain their support then?
Yeah. If they're already, I
Make
guess
it less suspicious, I guess.
right. Exactly.
It doesn't work.
That's all
No.
true.
Yeah, well, he gives a big loud speech about how the elites are controlling technology, and yes, they still have a point, and this comic doesn't seem to want to acknowledge that they have a point, because it just wants the Dark Legion to be evil bad guys to fight. But it's like, yes, actually, people do deserve to have iPhones. Not literally iPhones, I don't like the iPhone itself, I'm just saying,
Well,
like,
yeah.
you can have a phone. Yeah, no. Hail Dimitri, fake Roman salute. It's like Star Wars Episode 7. I want to draw attention to the next page, where Benedict's face on the monitor is one of the funniest looking drawings in this comic so far.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
He's just happy. Very pleased with himself. The Echidna. What is this? The council? What? I don't know what to call this group of people in Haven. Anyway,
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood. I knew they had a name. Okay, the Brotherhood also reacts to this, not to the face, but they're like, maybe he has a point, like you were saying. And then Saber, again, is trying to cover for badly written things previously, and it's like, oh, well, actually, Edmund actually didn't plan to suppress technology forever. I'm guessing he died before his plan got to be, actually done properly or something. But that's funny.
When were they supposed to get it back? What? Did he just... If he planned that, why didn't they do it? If you know, because that has to be information handed down through generations since Steppenwolf. So why didn't they do it?
Guess is that because Edmund died, as I said, a lot of people were like, oh, no, that wasn't his original idea. His original idea was to, suppress technology, and basically disagreed about it because he wasn't around anymore. That's my best guess. Anyway, given that there is no explanation.
Right.
But the Brotherhood are the ones... The Brotherhood can control this, right? Do they... I don't know how much authority they're supposed to have. I thought they were like a shadow government, basically.
I thought they didn't really have that much control in the first place.
I think they probably could change it if they wanted to, but
Which they don't.
No, they don't. In fact, it's probably to their benefit to keep the Dark Legion fighting. Keep a thread.
Right.
Ugh, I don't like these guys.
Oh no, they're horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they all get fucking tranked by Legionnaires. Extremely easily. Really, really strong fighters, these guys.
It seemed to me like they were just completely not even on their guard at all, because they're so used to Haven being completely safe, even though there was literally someone, Moratory Rex, who infiltrated,
Right.
and that's the whole reason that people are here. But just anything to make these people seem more like fools, because that's totally what I think happened.
Yeah. There's 2 intervening pages with Knuckles and friends. I don't think I have anything really to say about them.
Oh, well, so at one part, Knuckles is like, why are the Dark Legion just allowed to walk around? I don't know that they even explained that, by the way, or I missed it. But Mighty is like, oh, no, it's cool, Knuckles, live and let live, right? And he's like, no, I'd rather live and let die, Mighty.
Yeah, okay, I did forget about that. Anywho, we do get a look at the horrible, horrible conditions that the dingoes have to live in here, which means that they are totally justified in their protests.
Oh god, yes.
Yeah.
Just give them new outfits. That's all you really need to do. But Stryker gets beaten up by a Legion guy called Zenin, who I mentioned in the summary just because he has a name. This guy appears in, like, these 3 issues and then never again. That's gonna be, like, a recurring thing, but... He kind of looks cool. He's at least a cyber echidna and not just clad in a robe all the time.
Right.
But, yeah, he captures Von Stryker, and then Knuckles and Julie Sue get in a fight with him, and then he captures them too. All 3 of them get captured. and they're in the Dark Legion base, and just your regular villain dialogue. Rex is here, which I don't know how long I can say that because I don't remember how much he appears after this arc.
It served his purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't.
Well, this is part of the problem, is that most of these Legion guys are really interchangeable.
That's very true.
Like, I can't name a really clear personality difference between Rex and Zenin and Dimitri and Kragok and even Liandar to an extent. It's like, Dimitri has the backstory, but everybody agrees with him, so...
Right.
I mean, I would say Dimitri is pretty distinct. He's always just... The craziest one in the room is always Dimitri. He's just the most over the top and completely filled with the need for revenge. As soon as everyone's captured, Knuckles is like making jokes again. It's just back to the same back and forth as when they were Enerjack, and he's like, "Oh, you won't be in such a good mood, Knuckles, when I start making you scream." He's gotta torture him again.
Yeah, he's really just still Enerjack for the most part.
Yeah.
It's funny that they included that line. No, he hasn't changed at all.
Well, we can get it over with in Knuckles number 24, where they're all hanging upside down, and, well, frankly, I like the look of the bored kidness on this cover. Not so sure about Stryker's face. He looks like he's got a case of lockjaw, but, Anywho, so the story here is Primary Evil, or I guess Primary Evil. Penders and Valentino. On election night, the Legion performs rigorous testing to figure out the secret of Knuckles' power. Remington brainstorms ways of stopping Benedict, and Locke and Spectre plan to rescue everyone. And the title page here is 3 for 3 on quotes about fascism. This one's not as bad because it's just an FDR quote about Nazis being bad, so it's like, just whatever. It's
Fair
still
enough.
dumb, but, at least it's from, like, a notable figure who was not an active victim of the Holocaust and is just a president.
Right.
That's not to not criticize FDR. That's not the point. Anyway, let's get into the story. We get a cool looking drawing of Spectre, so that's our consolation.
There's an argument between Locke and Spectre here, where Locke is like, "I want to save Knuckles," and Spectre is like, "Psh, Knuckles will be fine. We gotta save Haven or whatever," and then they do that.
Yeah, I guess Spectre has been reading the script, perhaps.
Yeah, he does seem to be. I mean, I assume they chose him to be the one that doesn't get captured for a reason. He seems to be a little more aware of things and not so comfortable in the deal he's got.
I feel like they drew one guy who looked cooler than the others and decided, all right, we have to give him something.
Basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, Locke is allegedly putting his son's safety first, but just kind of changes his mind and does what Spectre wants. So, yeah. But everybody is, hanging upside down. Knuckles calls... I don't know if he's talking to... I guess he's probably talking to Zenin and calls him the head Goomba.
Goomba is an actual term.
It is?
Yes, I think it's a New York Italian term.
You're serious?
Yes.
So Mario has been... Alright.
It's just a term for, like,
how
a
it
dude. If I remember correctly.
I do like that they're surprised to see Dimitri, which is like... What did you think they did with him after he got de-energified? But I suppose he's, he had to be borged up, so they wouldn't necessarily know he'd survive. But I like the Dimitri here alive. And when I initially read this, I read that as Dimitri here again.
So true. Is this the first sideways page spread they've done too? It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but at least my comic reader corrects it, so it's... I say fixed, but they both look misaligned in the reader, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to draw stuff sideways sometimes. I do like that, in this exchange they have here, Dimitri directly refers to the anti-tech position of the council in his time as creationists.
So, once again, they're building or retconning, I don't know, the whole origin story. They just cannot come up with anything new. They just have to keep looping back to the whole Dimitri and Edmund thing. But Dimitri recontextualizes, supposedly, he could totally be lying too. The the creationists always wanted to get rid of technology, and then they just used the whole incident that I caused as an excuse to then get rid of technology, which is interesting, I suppose. And again, that would explain why the position makes no sense. It's based on an irrational group.
I guess. I so wish that Dimitri was actually like a vengeful, like, anti-hero in all this, because he so easily could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like Dimitri. He's just too crazy.
I do like that
Yeah.
drawing of Edmund in the flashback, where they clearly drew his glasses, but the colorist didn't realize they were glasses, and so it just looks like he has a really big unibrow.
Oh.
Anywho, yeah, there's no good way to make this work. And indeed, there's no good way to make the next scene work, where Benedict straight up
No.
confesses to rigging the election. So why does
Yeah.
Remington not arrest him?
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't
yeah.
understand. Remington is going to go after him because he runs away. So that's the reason he doesn't arrest him. The thing that doesn't make sense is why Benedict would literally lay everything on the table and then run away. I was expecting him to lay everything on the table and then do the classic, oh, if you won't join me, you have to die thing. But he doesn't do that. He just leaves. Like, how is that smart?
Well, he does threaten Remington with a dark secret of Remington's. Would you guys like to know what that dark secret is?
I don't care.
So the fuck would
Go
I,
ahead.
because
Oh,
it never gets
okay.
revealed in Penders' run.
All right
that's
then.
not all that surprising.
Also, I like that you destroyed my bit by saying you don't care.
Well, I don't, not really.
No, I know.
There's so much nonsense in these comics. Although what is not nonsense is after Remington runs out, we get the glorious return of Harry. I am so glad he's a recurring character.
Yeah. He's the ultimate. He's the side character to end all side characters. He is the Chad. The Knuckles comics haven't had a Chad yet.
Oh my god, yeah.
You're right.
So, the Dark Legion analyzes Knuckles, and they say that he is a living Chaos Emerald and has been since before he was born. Just in case we needed Knuckles to be more overpowered.
I've said it before, but once again, I'm very disappointed in these Knuckles comics. I like Knuckles. He's my favorite Sonic character, but this
Right.
ain't it, folks. Just making
Like-
him ridiculously over the top. Gotta be the ultimate chosen one. Is he like genetically altered or something? That seemed to be the implication to me. It's just so bizarre and does not. I don't need this.
Yeah, no, they even do like the Dragon Ball Z Scouter bit where their machines explode because he's so strong.
I interpreted that as they accidentally activated him and then it started overloading everything.
Yeah, maybe. That's fair enough. It does cause the entire rest of their base to also start blowing up, though.
It's a chain reaction. You know, you blow up one machine, then they all start blowing up. That's just a sci-fi trope.
Well, it's
You know.
ridiculous because not only does this happen, but this solves the conflict of the story. Because,
Knuckles
Because, you know-
always has to save the day, even if he's unconscious.
well, it's like Locke and Spectre break in after, I think they retook Haven beforehand, and, like, Rex and Leonda, I think they just book it. I'm not quite clear, but I think that's what's implied. But yeah, no, things just explode in the base, and it explodes so much that Benedict's face melts off, and he's a robot.
So I expected Nazi echidnas because it's everyone knows about it who knows about the comics, but I did not expect face melting. That caught me off guard.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a Terminator. A Terminator?
Yeah, it's Terminator enough. Well, I'll tell you why you didn't expect it is because this means nothing to the story. What's the point?
I mean, yeah, it really doesn't.
It makes no difference whether he's a guy or a bot.
Other than that, who the fuck's gonna be the leader of the Echidnas now?
I guess we'll have to find out. I suppose this does slightly explain why Benedict is so irrational, although a lot
He's
of these people
programmed
are
to be that way.
irrational.
Well, it's explained because he's programmed to be that way.
Right.
Now, everything blows up, everybody kind of just gets out of there. There's no resolution to any of the dingo stuff here. Von Stryker just kind of gets up and, I suppose, just walks away. You see him get up, and then he's never in the rest of the comic.
There's this really weird bit at the end with Dimitri where it's like it's framed as if this is supposed to be the climactic end to a season or something, because there's this whole internal monologue, and it's like it talks about like what happened to everyone and everybody, and this is like the bit where it mentions that Pravda's brain was completely destroyed. But it's just weird that they do this as if it was some momentous thing. It reminds me of like the way they ended Endgame, but unearned.
I guess I don't think this was Penders' plan, but technically, Dimitri does not appear for the duration of the Knuckles solo series. He reappears in stories in the Sonic comics, but technically, I think this is his last appearance.
Oh, that's kind of surprising.
Well, part of this, we'll see in the upcoming Knuckles issues, this might be part of the reason that Manny Gallen didn't draw these ones, is that we're going to see that Manny Gallen gets moved to some of the covers of the Knuckles books, and we're going to see that the Knuckles books start getting a Sonic the Hedgehog Presents branding with Sonic on top of the logo. And it's because I think this is probably the point where the sales of the Knuckles comics started to decline.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
The final 3 Knuckles issues are drawn by Penders himself, so that was probably his last chance.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, so that's the Knuckles fascism arc. It's bad. I could go on a rant about how Ken Penders does not understand maybe any politics ever, but I feel like this just does a great job of displaying it on its own.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, and even all that aside, it's just not a very interesting story either. So it kind of fails on all fronts.
Yeah, kind of.
You should not lose to Harry Potter when doing a children's illustration of Nazis.
Oh.
And this was before that, I admit, but it's not good. Actually, I think that's the first book. Doesn't matter. The point is, not good, and that's Knuckles for tonight. It's gonna be amazing how we have exactly 1 Sonic issue tonight, and it is going to win on that alone.
Yeah,
Maybe.
this is a weird issue. Let's talk about it, shall
I
we?
agree with that, Devin.
Okay. Well, let's get into this. This is Sonic the Hedgehog number 71, and as it proclaims, probably the strangest Sonic issue you will ever read. And that's not it's not a horrible understatement.
It
is an understatement. Maybe not a horrible.
It's an understatement. It's strange in its own strange way, even.
Well, we're actually getting the least possibly strange version of it because we're reading the digital archives, and that means that we don't get the notes pages, the fan art, the off panels, etc. And in this one, those were all at the beginning because this issue was printed backwards.
Mind you, on purpose.
I was wondering why the Penders side story was at the start. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's literally printed. Well, that part I don't think the side story is printed backwards.
No, they couldn't be bothered, but yeah, the main story is as well.
That would have been kind of funny.
Yes, we start off with the Penders backup story here, which is In the Beginning, written by Penders, drawn by Mawini, where Tails and Amy finally find the history books Amy was looking for, thanks to the grandson of their writer, Kirby. And the pair sort of dive into a Mobian creation story, I suppose?
Yes, that's true. Let me just say, I think it works better to have these stories at the front, because then we don't have to end on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, a really amazing thing would be to make this some kind of subplot that ties into the main story. Like, maybe some sort of creation imagery could be the parallel to something happening in the main story. I'm not saying it should be, because I don't really need any of this, but, something. That's what the modern comics do.
No, that would be good.
That would be nice.
I don't even know what they're doing here. I mean, they foreshadowed a weird, mysterious character, and it's just a random Dalmatian who has books. Wow.
And is the in-universe grandson of Jack Kirby. I don't know what that says about Jack Kirby's family, but I cannot believe that they let Ken Penders do this, to say that the Echidnas evolved first and are just genetically more advanced than everyone else. It's not that I don't expect it, it's just I'm amazed that throughout this whole thing nobody said, hey, maybe this is stupid. And there's not a lot to say. The first Mobian to try starting a society is a distant ancestor of the Acorns, because of course he is.
fucking chosen by God or something.
Yeah, they have to explain why the acorns are so, stuck up about themselves.
They also directly contradict themselves. I admit this is probably a bank story that was written at some other point, but they directly contradict themselves by having the acorns establish an advanced kingdom of their own accord, which Nate Morgan did that. He's the one who
Yes.
helped them.
That is true. I mean,
There were
maybe they
buildings and
regressed.
stuff before before Nate.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but they've got
but,
forklifts.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
Well, forklifts are not the pinnacle of technology.
yeah, forklifts aren't the pinnacle.
I
of
disagree.
technology.
I am forklift certified, and I will lift your ass into the sun, bitch.
Are you actually forklift certified?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I almost thought I was for a second, because I interviewed for a job at Lowe's one time, and I got really far into the process, and I was gonna be forklift certified, but then they just ghosted me.
Oh, damn.
I guess they didn't trust you with such power.
Oof.
Yeah, we end on yet another cliffhanger, except this is the most lazy one ever, because it's just Tails reading from a book, and Amy says, "What happens next?" And then the next panel says, "What does happen next? Keep reading and find out."
At least this wasn't a thing where they asked people to write in to get it, because that would mean we'd more than likely never see it again.
Yeah, and I mean, it promises that you'll find out stuff about the Great War, which is an interesting period in the comic, notably because it wasn't created by Penders, but
Yeah.
I can't say that I really expect them to deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I feel like even Pender's side stories are getting weaker. Like, I never liked them, and this is even worse than the other ones, in my opinion.
The only thing that this has is that it lets us see Tails and Amy, Amy especially has not been present for a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys aren't here for that. You guys are here for the main story of this issue, which is Retroactivity, written by Ballers and drawn by Stephen Butler. In this strange reverse-ordered story, Sonic has to combine his speed with the power of one of Nate's Super Emeralds to keep reality from collapsing when Knothole's 3-hour time field is sent out of control by a mysterious force from space.
But I have to say that I love that right off the bat, the main story is making a big deal out of Sonic's design suddenly changing. This is the best thing these comics can do. It's just over-explain things.
This is really weird. Like, I'm trying to think of the alternate universe where this story was printed in linear order and we had Sonic, do all this stuff and then he ends up with the design. Because you could say almost that would make it come as a surprise, but I don't know if you want it to be a surprise, and also it's a surprise to have it here. My mind goes a million miles a minute when thinking about this comic. It is weird.
Well, so it brings up the question, why did this need to be explained in the first place? Just change
Why
his design.
wouldn't it need to be explained? These are the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comics. You have to explain everything.
That is true. That is very
Did you
true.
slam your fist on the desk when you said that?
Of course I did.
Okay. Here's a question. Our Sonic Adventure episodes are going to be long when we get them, so we might as well put it here. What do you guys think of classic versus modern Sonic designs?
I can't say I've ever really thought about it.
Yeah, I honestly haven't really ever given it a thought.
I grew up with, the adventure style Sonic design, so that's very much the one that I think of first, but I like both of them, so yeah, not a big deal that we need to have a debate over, is it?
I mean, yeah, I think I'm the same way. I like both of them. Classic Sonic is cute, and modern Sonic is... I mean, he looks like a weird teenager, which is about right for his character.
Okay, so I will say that I do have an opinion about classic Sonic being cute. I hate that classic Sonic has been redone to be cute. That is not the way classic Sonic originally was.
That is true. He was not. He was a sassy teenager.
Are you talking about, like, since Generations and stuff?
Yeah, I don't like how they do him in that.
That is true.
Yeah, alright. I like Sonic Mania's animations, at least.
Oh, yeah, Mania does it well, I think.
Yeah, no, like the Sonic CD, Sonic OVA designs are the best classic Sonic, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, the CD animations are great, and I would say the the animation is certainly good.
Alright, well, anyway, shoot. I'm looking at my notes here and I'm realizing when I wrote these, I tried to read it backwards to take notes on it in a linear fashion. That was a bad idea. Because
Oh.
this story counts backwards by increments of minutes and time. So we start off with the result of this this procedure, where it's already turned Sonic's eyes green, given his shoes buckles, and made him longer, which nobody says Sonic got taller. You just kind of see that.
So, I will say, they did write a whole issue about this, and I cannot help but praise that. However, they actually failed at the one thing they set out to do, which is they don't actually explain why Sonic changed. Because Sonic's like, let me explain, Sally, and he doesn't explain.
No, they just say that, and then you see the actual stuff that happened. They don't explain why it did that. Maybe the chaos energy made his body more elastic, which, when he spun his legs, made his legs and quills stretch out.
I mean, I just have to. I just assumed. This story is also confusing to talk about because I don't want to talk about later things, but also this happens after them, so maybe I should. But I assume when he transforms a whole bunch of times that he just transformed again and then it just stuck.
Yes, so in order to make not destroy itself or whatever, they strap a Super Emerald to Sonic's back and have him run where he cycles through different forms. Supersonic, Ultrasonic, which is his ring form from the Nagas fight, Solar Sonic, which is just whatever, I don't know, Polar Sonic, which is, you're getting stupid there, Eco Sonic, which is really stupid.
So the whole purpose of these comics, other than Sonic's design, seemingly, is to just tidy up a little bit. Because the writers are like, oh, not whole big 3 hours ahead, that doesn't make any sense. Nobody likes it. So they wrote a whole thing just to undo that.
Right.
It's funny because on the one hand, I'm like, oh, that was actually kind of interesting, even though it was stupid. They just erased it. But on the other hand, yeah, I would probably do the same thing. That was...
Yeah.
The first story in which this
Weird.
is a relevant thing is also the one that gets rid of it.
Yeah, it's a little strange. Kind of disappointing when they start using it just to get rid of it. But the other thing is, so yeah, they bring back the Super Emerald after it was mentioned, but then they don't explain it at all. Maybe they will later, but it actually just, I thought it was going to be a big deal, but then it just seems like, nah, there's just Super Emeralds.
Yeah, they just have it.
Uh-huh.
I do like that as Sonic is, I guess, running laps around the planet, we get shots of different places like the Dragon Kingdom and Mercia that see him.
I do like when the writers seem to be acknowledging the lore that they're building up. Callbacks are always nice. I like the continuity. But yeah, so now I'm ready to talk about Sonic's forms. So it seems that the writers think the only way to make an exciting issue is to introduce another transformation. I don't like where this series is going. And they introduced 3 this time, actually.
It's turning into Dragon Ball.
Really is.
It's turning into
I-
specifically Dragon Ball Super.
Fair enough.
I mean, I guess you could say it started in the Boo arc, but whatever.
It's even worse here, though, because at least in the Nagas fight, he was doing something. But Sonic is just running. There's literally no purpose to these transformations, even in the story.
Yeah, and these are... It's like, it reminds me of that very old comic of Sonic going through his different lists of speed,
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, where's
Oh, yeah.
Transonic? Come on, you guys gotta give me that. You could take the Eco Sonic or the Polar Sonic panel and then recolor it so that the stream behind him is the trans flag. It would be perfect.
So out of curiosity, do Solar Sonic, Polar Sonic, or Eco Sonic ever show up again?
Of course they don't.
That's what I figured.
You say, of course, but...
Okay,
these
you know what?
comics-
If
They've
doing
brought
these
back a
comics,
lot
they
of weird
could.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the flashback from that flash forward back, it brings us another alternate form for Sonic, which is miscolored Sonic, where he has blue arms for a couple panels.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic transformation.
And it displays one of the problems with this, which is that we already have some idea of what's happening, not a complete idea, but it means that the exposition of what's happening feels doubly redundant.
I wonder if they wrote
Yeah.
this forward and then they just presented it backward.
If they did that, I wish that they had done both stories the same way so that I could at least be consistently confused.
But yeah, your point is quite true. I do like though that they write the dialogue backwards for Jules and Bernie in Knothole.
Oh yeah.
That's fun to then reverse.
Yeah, Sonic and Sally retroactively arrive in a knothole where everything's moving backwards.
What I don't like is that they're bringing back Sonic's speed can do anything, because when Sonic and Sally try to leave Knothole, they like can't because reasons. I don't know. Honestly, this doesn't make any sense. Like
They're
not
trying
even
to enter knothole. They're trying
oh,
to leave it in
shoot.
reverse.
I have it backwards. Gosh darn it. Anyway,
See, I hate it. It's
but I'm saying it. Okay, yeah. So I guess it's a time thing then. Well, anyway, but Sonic is like, oh, I read this in a comic. If you just vibrate your molecules, you can pass through anything, even magic time barriers. That makes sense.
that's a
Literally
thing that the
doing
Flash
the
has
Flash
done.
thing.
Yeah, that's where he read it, I suppose.
I guess so.
Sorry, I have to scroll backwards through my notes to do this. This was a terrible idea.
Oh.
It's weird also
Honestly.
because it means that the core like setup and character interactions of the story are at the back half. So we see Sonic and Sally, we see Sonic comforting Sally for her dad being awful before we see her dad being awful.
Honestly, he could just do that at any time, and it would probably be valid though.
Yeah, and it's like it's especially annoying because like we get that at the same time that we're also seeing Sonic congratulated for him and Elias rescuing Nate. So it's like just either be the king who is a bad dad or be the king who is not. I can't stand King Acorn. We get the very end of the story is the thing that we know to be the start of the end of the story, which is it's the satellite. Of course, it's the satellite.
Of course.
So, yeah, this satellite. So I happen to know what this satellite is, and so I can't hate it completely for that reason. However, I have to say, I kind of hate it. It's just such a plot device. That I thought it was going to show up like a few times, and then we get the big reveal about what's going on, really. But no, it just shows up like every issue, it seems like now, and just does something random. Literally a time beam that was going to destroy the entire planet. What the heck?
With how easily this thing is thwarted, it bears a certain resemblance to something. But yeah, no, it just does whatever they want it to do.
But it was obvious they didn't write this trying to make a good story. They just wrote it because they had to make something to explain Sonic's changed appearance. Oh no, the readers are gonna be confused.
This issue is one part completely bland storytelling, and the other half crack pipe with a picture of SA1 Sonic stuck in it. I don't know if I would say that it is the strangest Sonic issue that I have ever read. It is strange.
Yes,
But
it is
It
definitely
is
strange.
yeah.
Yeah. Weird one. Try something else next time, Carl. You're getting close, but we're not quite there yet.
Mm.
Of course, we do have something else, which is one more final comic for tonight, which is another Sonic Super Special, and oh god, why are they back?
I can only assume someone sent a Sonicgram in saying they wanted more children.
I think that the first Sonic Kids special actually did sell pretty well. I think that's why.
To be fair to this one also, the art's not as, horrific as
No,
the
it's
first
less
one,
freaky looking.
but it's still kind of off-putting.
I do like that they're playing Sonic Adventure on it.
Yeah.
Also, Sally appears to be holding a doll of Chun-Li from Street Fighter. Am I seeing that right?
It is what it looks like.
Yeah, I think so.
There's your usual Astal cameo, which Tails has, but that's expected at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I missed that one. Thank you.
But this has a bunch of different stories, and I think they're all written by Michael Gallagher, which probably explains the weird Dave Monick illustration on the title page, which appears to mix Dave Monick and Spaziant art, so you have kind of a janky-looking Sonic looking at a photo book of photos drawn by Spaziant that look way better.
I like how Sonic is looking fondly about his worst enemy.
And Robotnik.
Oh. Yes.
God damn it.
Anywho, the first story of this issue is Zoneward Bound, written by Gallagher, obviously, and drawn by Sam Maxwell, with some... Maybe... I almost feel like his art fits the child versions better than the adults, but I don't know. At a young age, Sonic and friends find a ring frozen in ice, which transports them to a trippy alternate zone and shows them visions of the future.
This sure is a Michael Gallagher story.
Yes, it is.
Man, I hate Sonic Kids, not because of the stupid art, but because of the stupid having to explain everything. Sometimes it really doesn't work, and sometimes it's just annoying. On the first page here, Rotor is like, "Don't call me Boomer, call me Rotor. I'm too old to be called Boomer anymore." What does that mean? Does he just think his name is stupid? Or is Rotor his real name and Boomer was a nickname?
I think that's what it is. But I do think that the line, "I'm getting too old to be called Boomer anymore," is very funny in hindsight. Also, Rosie has black hair here and looks, like, not even old, so how did she age so fast in, like, less than 10 years?
The stress of,
Yeah.
everything, I guess.
Maybe the timelines crossed with Sad AM during the time travel events.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they're all just kind of hanging out, doing whatever. I hate that we can't have Bunny in these, because she canonically, they didn't meet her until issue 3.
Right.
They find a ring frozen in a bucket of water in the well, and Sonic throws it at the ground, and it creates portals.
I like that the editors are starting to outsource their continuity notes to the fans, because there's a question where it's like, "Hey, fans, do you remember where this well first showed up? Write in and you get a prize."
I don't.
It was somewhere at the start of either the miniseries or the series proper. I remember Sonic was fighting Robotnik,
Oh,
and
I
the
remember that
well
too.
showed up.
okay, yeah, okay, I guess I remember that. Because they have Rotor make a dumb joke where he goes, "Well, well, 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 well." And they're like, "Why did you say that?" And he's like, "Because Sonic ran to the well." And that's the whole joke.
Yeah, so then we're just getting another one of those stories where the heroes bounce around between weird worlds, not understanding what's going on, and just eventually escaping.
Yes, they each get their own weird alternate universe to go through, but it doesn't mean much. Like, Sally goes to a roller coaster dimension and almost gets eaten by a giant head of crystallized King Max, which shatters? What?
Yeah, this all feels like it should have more meaning to it.
Like, this is the sort of thing I would think they're planning something, but yeah, on its own it doesn't mean much of anything. I can't quite say the same for the second sequence though, because Tails meets the Ancient Walkers. I should have known the darned Ancient Walkers were behind all this. But they allude to the fact that he's the chosen one, so that at least has some relevance.
That does explain why it's always him meeting the Ancient Walker. I guess it isn't always him meeting the Ancient Walkers.
It's usually Tails, sometimes it's Knuckles.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And, yeah, no, Tails, Rotor, and Antoine really get the short end of the stick. They basically get, like, what, 2 pages?
Yeah.
Sonic gets to fight Robotnik, kind of.
Yeah. I'm glad that at least Sonic gets something, isn't completely just thrown around. Also, offhandedly, Sonic mentions where he's met Mighty. I should have known this, actually. It was the SEGA Sonic the Hedgehog game. That's a really neat reference, actually.
I guess, does this mean that this is the first time Sonic ever beat Robotnik?
So, this is confusing. Is this supposed to take place before the other Sonic kids?
Maybe?
Because it depends in that one, because he fought
Sonic
Robotnik
visually
in that one, too.
looks younger than in that.
But I mean, that could also just be down to art style things.
That's the problem. I have no idea.
Right.
Well, don't they call Boomer Boomer in the other one, or do they call him Rotor?
I think
They call him Boomer in one of the other ones, but I don't know if the first Sonic Kids stories are meant to take place around the same time period either.
Well,
God.
There's evidence pointing to this being before and after, so who knows? I will say that Robotnik does not seem to recognize Sonic, so this probably is before.
I guess so, yeah.
Ugh. This is a nightmare. I have no idea what the point of this was. They all get back. They're fine. It's whatever.
The point is it's
Yeah.
supposed to be another one of those weird issues where you think about what really went on.
These comics make me feel like a fucking loser sometimes. Let's go ahead and move on to the second story of this issue, which is called My Secret Guardian, which is written by Gallagher and drawn by Manny Gallen, actually. So he's not completely gone. He'll have a little bit more to do, but on a trip to Angel Island for the king to meet with the Guardian, Princess Sally meets with the Guardian's son, Knuckles, and the two bond over the huge expectations placed on them by their mutually shitty fathers.
Thank you for yes, indeed. They just cannot help but feature Max in a story and make him not horrible in some subtle way. So, this is just Sally and their dad are going on a vacation to Angel Island. Oh, it's going to be great.
Mhm.
It's going to, it could be just a nice little cozy story. But no, nuh-uh. There has to be a little bit where King Max is thinking about things, and he's like, oh, Sally cannot know the true meaning for my mission here. And this reveals Max was lying to Sally when he talked about why he never told her about Elias. So he didn't tell her about Elias for some other reason that isn't really brought into here, other than just every important character Penders writes has to hide everything from their children. But I thought Sally was too young to know Elias, but this is not the case. This story reveals that's not true. And apparently her own brother was just hidden from her because I don't know.
For reasons.
Yeah, and I guess you can say that this is an amazing example of Gallagher doing a good job following Penders' lead, because the nonsense behavior of the king is fully consistently stupid.
Yeah, I often forget that a lot of Penders' characters aren't always written by Penders, but a lot of people do a pretty good job.
Well, this is a rare instance of Gallagher touching... I guess Gallagher is the one who made the idea of Knuckles and Sally knowing each other, but this is the first time that I think Luck has been written by anybody other than Penders. He only shows up for, like, one panel, but it's still true.
Right.
As for the... It's like, I don't even know what to call the plot of this story, that Knuckles and Sally meet each other and say hi?
Yeah, and the way Sally says hi is by almost killing Knuckles.
I was about to say.
Let's be honest, we know that sharp stick wouldn't do anything.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how she literally kicked him off the island. If he didn't know how to glide, Knuckles is dead.
Yeah.
No, but he could walk on water.
Oh my god.
You're right. The ancient walkers or something would save him.
Okay, fair enough. I was gonna say, I don't think that's something he can normally do.
Yeah, I guess this is one of the better stories of the issue, because it's like, Max is horrible, but, like, we come to expect that. It's mostly just Sally and Knuckles being weird, dumb kids together, which I don't necessarily mind, and Gallen makes them not look horrible, mostly by making them not look like children, but...
Yeah, they just look like shorter, whatever they are now. Teenagers? Yeah, teenagers.
Yeah. Well, we will continue on to the final story of this issue, which is Eve of Destruction, written by Gallagher, obviously, drawn by Mawini. On the day of his son's birth, Commander Amadeus Prower witnesses Warlord Julian Kintober using a new technology called the Roboticizer to forcefully mechanize an innocent victim. He attempts to bring this Robotnik to justice, but can't fight the inevitable.
Yeah, so I'm getting a little sick, actually, of just all these fill-in stories. I mean, I have said before that I really like them filling little gaps. I suppose that's true, in theory, but it's the whole jumping back and forth between different places. What I'd really like is, I think I said it before, if they just did like a mini-series or something, and they stuck to this era for a while, so you have some time to develop stuff. But when you just have these short stories, it doesn't work as well, in my opinion.
I get that.
Yeah, just do, like, an organic, like... You could call it Sonic Origins, and show just the timeline of not all of these stories, because some of them are completely unimportant garbage, but, all the important ones, this one is fairly important, I would say.
Yeah,
They just show who these people are, where they came from, and how the coup would go on to affect them. And then we can talk about how that informs their characters in the newer stories. Even if it's still not good, you can grasp at whatever straws they give you. But this does not inform us anything about the characters, because it's the characters' pre-development, and they don't have a lot of development to go around in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It annoys me every time Antoine gets bullied in these comics.
And worst of all, there's parts of this story that I'd like, because Tails' parents are not characters that we know hardly anything about, so getting any amount of exposition on them is interesting. Tails' mom, Rosemary, is pregnant. Sonic, Rotor, Sally, and Antoine do not look any younger or older than in the rest of these comics. This is supposed to be before Tails was born, but he's old enough to speak complete sentences in other parts of this special.
Well, yeah, so that does confirm that these specials, the stories, do not take place in any kind of chronological order.
As I said,
Right.
Yeah, they're just jumping around.
But, yeah, so in the first story, they look a lot younger than they do here, so that's...
It doesn't make sense. I am choosing to believe that the moment each of these people hit 15 years old, they just metastasized into, teenagers. They just had rapid puberty, not unlike Goku, frankly.
That'd be nice. Actually, I don't know if that'd be nice.
If you only had to go through puberty for one day, that would affect you psychologically over the rest of your life, because it would take away, in an instant, your entire childhood. This is a weird thread to follow.
I was about to say, this is a weird plot tangent. So, this story is... Yeah, I do kind of like parts of it. It is really neat to see Tails' parents, and you don't have to deal with any of the weird, it's my parents, because it's just in the past. So I actually prefer this over them just showing up in some place in the modern current timeline comics. So, yeah, that's cool. And there's some discussion about, the recent events. They do sort of a little recap for if you read this special on its own, which that would still probably be really confused. But, they talk about how Robotnik's doing weird things, or Julian, actually, as he is at this point, and Chuck's self-retirement. Also, Snively has his hair, so that's a landmark for the comics. We haven't seen that yet.
I wonder how Snively lost his hair in this universe.
I like to believe it's from the stress of working with Robotnik.
That makes sense.
Because that was my theory for all of 3 seconds in Sat AM until they showed Sonic making him lose his hair.
Yeah.
So I want to use that theory again because it's funny.
I like that.
Yeah, so Amadeus, Tails' dad, witnesses Robotnik use the roboticizer on some beaver dude. And he's like, "Oh, you bastard, I'm gonna report you for this." But then they just grab him and he gets roboticized.
So, I would like to point out that Amadeus stands there and lets Robotnik monologue for 3 frames, and he's just like, "All right, come on, Jules, I'm warning you, I will shoot you with this gun if you don't shut up and just come with me." Literally, if Amadeus just hadn't allowed him to monologue, the whole conflict wouldn't have happened in this entire series, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Although I suppose he didn't expect the SWAT bot. I think that's the first SWAT bot that grabs him.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It's just funny.
Yeah. So, of course, at the exact same time as this, Tails' mom, well, Rosemary, I guess she just is right now, is giving birth. So it's like, we gotta rush her to the hospital. So they load her up in a fucking wagon and have Sonic pull it.
I mean, they're a bunch of kids, so...
No, I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it makes relative sense.
Yeah, so, this next scene is kind of fucked up.
Oh, yeah, this is hella disturbing.
Where Tails is born, and, healthy baby, 2 tails, we don't really care about that. They really don't focus on that at all. They say one line about it.
They don't really care, I guess.
And so they're like, "Oh, but why isn't his dad here?" So Robotnik dresses the roboticized Amadeus up in a mask and sunglasses and like a bandana or whatever that is, doctor, whatever they wear. I don't know what those things are called, and have him just walk in there, stare at them, and leave, which makes Rosemary burst into tears.
This is so terrible. This is
Yeah.
like this is a uniquely different flavor of just messed up for Robotnik. I love this because of how much I hate it. This is just terrible. Yeah, if Amadeus just hadn't shown up at all, it would have been better. But Robotnik just made it the worst. We don't even know what happens to Rosemary after this, but
Oh yeah.
she can't be in a good shape after that.
Is this the saddest scene that we've ever had in these comics?
I think so.
Like ontologically sad. It's like, because like a person dying is obviously like objectively has worse consequences since roboticization can be reversed, but it's like this is powerfully cruel.
Yeah.
And of course it's like they have the ending where like Sonic holds baby Tails and it's like, oh, so cute, but you can just see Rosemary turned over in the background is just like emotionally destroyed, and it's like, I don't know if that's really like a heartwarming ending panel that you want to focus on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's they didn't really do a good. It's like they wrote a comic. They're like, okay, let's write a bit right near to when the coup happens. That'll be a cool year to write about. But of course, things are starting to fall apart. So bad things are going to happen, and they're not going to get better anytime soon. You know that if you've read the series. So we have to just slap on some sort of happy ending on the last page, and it didn't work very well.
Not really.
Very weird. Notable, interesting, but really weird and kind of just disturbed. That's Sonic Kids 2, everybody!
Yay!
That's our comics for the night. How the hell do you judge these? This is one of the craziest episodes of the comics, I think.
I think I will choose not to give a point to anyone this time.
Oh, okay. No one deserves a point.
Well, the Knuckles issues were like borderline offensive. The Sonic issue was just stupid, and then we had Sonic Kids, which
It'll get an interesting discussion in the rankings episode where we talk about how it emotionally manipulates you. But yeah, I'm gonna give the point to Sonic for less playful anti-Semitism, but I don't.
Yeah, I can get that, but that Sonic issue.
You don't have to give a point out. I'm saying for me.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, I totally get what you why you would do that.
So, if I'm judging these two, am I including Sonic Kids, or am I literally just the proper Sonic issue versus the Knuckles issue?
We've only been doing the proper Sonic issues, so we have to keep it that way, I think.
Oh,
Right.
Okay. Well, then...
I'm not judging you if you give the point to Knuckles, by the way.
Yeah, no, I think I am going to do that. I don't know what this is a metric on. It's just which is better, we like more, whatever, I don't know. It's very subjective. But... God, it's such a toss-up. It's always a toss-up. And it's always a toss-up when they're both just not great. I hate that.
There's never a time when we can't decide because they're both too good.
If only that ever happened.
That would be real nice.
Yeah, I mean, these weren't weak Knuckles issues, even for Knuckles issue standards. Weirdness aside.
They weren't bad. Well, I don't want to say they weren't bad. They weren't weak. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I'll give it to Knuckles issues because, I mean, the Sonic issue is just like, there's really not a whole lot there. I mean, it's weirdness, but if you boil it down, it's kind of...
It's not much, I admit.
Sonic runs around the world and saves the day, and there's some people in a library. Oh wow, what a great issue, man. I mean, yeah, it's somewhat stylistically interesting because of the way it's told. But I had a lot more to talk about with the Knuckles ones, at least. I mean, I had a lot to talk about with the Sonic one, but in its essence, I think there's less to it. I think.
Yeah.
Like here. How about this? If I skipped over the Sonic issue, I might not even notice I skipped over it. I would probably notice if I skipped over the Knuckles ones.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that's a point for Sonic and a point for Knuckles, both begrudging points.
Indeed.
Well, with all that said, thank you all so much for watching this completely bonkers episode. We didn't have a wet fart to end on tonight. We had a really weird kind of horrible issue.
True.
But you can see all of the various places that you can contact us up on the screen right now. If you like this episode, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and just say stuff to it. I just like interacting with people. I really enjoy seeing your comments. And we are going to see you next Sunday for another episode where things are going to happen. The point is, next time on Deep Dive Zone, microwaves.
Things will happen. It's true.
Hope you all have a fantastic night, and take care.